Okay, so get this right. We're diving into EV battery prices, and they are taking a serious nosedive,
Yeah, pretty wild.
like seriously plummeting. And we've got this report, hot off the press from Goldman Sachs Research, and we are going to unpack why this is happening, what it means for everybody listening, and honestly for the future of how we all get around.
Yeah, it's remarkable what's happening. This report that we're looking at, it suggests that by, get this, 2026, we could see the average price of EV batteries nearly cut in half,
Whoa.
dropping to around $80 per kilowatt hour.
Hold on, back up a second. That's a game changer, right? So what you're saying is EVs could be cost competitive with gas guzzlers like that soon. I mean, 2026, that's right around the corner.
Not that far away. Yeah.
This is huge for anyone who's ever even thought about, maybe I'll get an electric car at some point.
Yeah, you're catching on quick.
Yeah.
So two major forces that are driving this. One, we've got, just constant improvements in the tech behind these batteries. They're just getting better and better. But then two, and this is a big one, is what we're seeing is an easing of, you could call it greenflation.
Oh, greenflation.
Remember how the price of those battery metals, like lithium, cobalt,
Oh, yeah.
they went through the roof?
They were sky high.
Well, that's all starting to chill out. So less expensive materials, better tech. That's a 1-2 punch for cheaper EVs.
Okay, I get that. So we're talking less expensive materials, we're talking better tech. Let's break down that tech a little bit, because what is going on that makes these batteries so much better than they were even a couple of years ago?
So imagine getting, say, 30% more battery life out of your phone
Oh, stop, please.
on a single charge.
I know, right?
That's kind of the leap we're talking about here with EV battery energy density.
Okay.
And one of the really big changes, and this is pretty cool, I think, is how they're actually designing these battery packs. They're moving towards something called cell-to-pack technology.
Cell to pack sounds very technical. What are we
Uh-huh.
talking about here?
So think of it this way, right? Traditionally, you had these battery cells. They'd be grouped into modules, and then those modules would be put together to make, the battery pack.
Right.
Now, what they're doing is figuring out how to just directly connect those cells, ditch the modules entirely.
Ah, okay.
So this is huge because it makes things smaller, it makes it less complex to manufacture, which of course makes it cheaper,
Right.
but also you get more space inside that battery pack itself for, you guessed it,
More battery.
more energy.
Oh,
Exactly.
juice. Okay.
Yeah, it's like, when you switch from that clunky old desktop computer to like a sleek all-in-one model,
Oh, yeah, for sure.
everything's just smaller, more streamlined, more
It's
powerful.
just leaker. Yeah, definitely more powerful.
And it doesn't stop there.
Yeah.
The materials they use are getting better, how they manufacture the batteries, even the software that's controlling it all. It's constantly evolving, constantly getting better.
It's constantly getting better, and I think that's what freaks people out a little bit too, is it's like, well, should I wait another year? Right, right.
Because it's just going to get better. So is there a clear winner right now in the battery technology race? Like, what should we be placing our bets on if you were a betting person?
So right now, it's kind of a two-horse race, and they're both powered by lithium.
Okay.
In one corner, you got your nickel-based batteries.
Okay.
These are your heavyweights. They're holding about 60% of the market right now.
60%. That's a big chunk.
Yeah.
Nickel-based.
Okay.
Who's the contender?
The contender is what we call LFP batteries, which stands for lithium iron phosphate, if you want to get technical.
Sure. Okay.
But they're holding their own, making up about 35 to 40% of the market.
Okay. So nickel-based versus LFP.
Hmm.
What are the, I guess, pros and cons of each one? What makes somebody choose nickel over LFP?
So they each have their own strengths, right?
Right.
Nickel-based batteries, those are like the marathon runners of the battery world. They've got that longer driving range,
Right.
thanks to higher energy density,
Got it.
but they cost more to produce.
Okay. More expensive. On the other hand, you've got your LFP batteries. These are more of your steady and reliable type. Maybe not as much range,
Okay.
but they tend to last longer.
Oh, okay.
They're considered safer because of their chemistry,
Interesting.
and they're easier on the wallet to produce.
Oh, so this is a classic trade-off, right? It's like range versus cost.
Exactly.
Okay.
Which one are you going to prioritize?
But what about, because I've heard whispers of this solid state battery. Is
Yeah.
that just hype, or is that like a real contender?
No, those are real.
Yeah.
And they have the potential to be a game changer.
Mhm.
Imagine even higher energy density and improved safety compared to these lithium-ion batteries that we've been talking about.
Okay, well, sign me up. What's the holdup?
So the challenge right now is taking them from the lab to the factory floor,
Ah, okay.
right? It's one thing to have a breakthrough in the lab. It's a whole different story to figure out how to mass produce those.
That's always the thing, right? It's like, well, we can do it once.
Right,
Can we
yeah.
do it a million times?
It's a whole different ballgame, yeah.
Yeah. So scaling up production, that's the hurdle that we're facing right now.
That's the big one. And, while scientists are tackling those production issues, don't forget lithium-ion batteries, they're not just sitting still.
Right. They're getting better, too.
They're constantly being improved, so it's really tough for anything new to catch up.
Yeah. It seems like it's a cutthroat industry, this battery industry. It's not even enough to just have the best tech.
Right.
You got to be able to make it affordably and on a massive scale.
You hit the nail on the head there.
Yeah.
And that brings us to another point, which is breaking into the EV battery industry.
Yeah.
Not for the faint of heart.
Why is that? I mean, it seems like, if you can get in, the payoff is huge.
Oh, absolutely. But first off, research and development in this industry, we're talking a decade.
Oh, wow.
Maybe more.
Okay.
You need some serious brain power. You need skilled workers, and of course, you need a whole lot of money.
So deep pockets and patience.
A whole lot of patience, exactly. And even if you can get a good product, then it's like, okay, how do we mass produce this thing efficiently? How do we keep the costs down? That's a whole other beast entirely. We've seen companies that have been at this for years, and they're still struggling to make it work.
Wow. So who are the big players in this game? Who's really calling the shots?
So right now, you've got a handful of companies. I want to say maybe 5.
5 companies.
Yeah, they control about 80% of the global EV battery market.
80%.
80%.
Yeah.
And these guys have been in the game for a while. I mean, some of them for over 2 decades.
Wow.
And they've poured tons of resources into, R&D, building up their manufacturing capabilities. Makes it really tough for new players to break in.
That's got to be intimidating. If you're a smaller company and you're like, we got this great idea, but it's like, oh, there's this giant 800-pound gorilla in the room. We're never going to be able to compete with these guys.
It definitely makes it challenging. There are arguments to be made that, this concentration of power, it can sometimes slow down innovation.
Yeah.
But it also just shows you how complex and massive this industry really is.
Yeah.
It's not easy to just, snap your fingers and become a major player.
Right. It's not just about inventing the coolest battery. It's about, the manufacturing. It's the supply chains. It's all the other stuff, too, that goes with it. And you got to do it at a price that people can actually afford. So this kind of brings us to, I think, the million-dollar question, which is, with these dropping battery prices, what happens to EV demand? Because if it's more affordable, aren't we going to see a lot more people making the switch?
That's the billion-dollar question, actually.
Billion-dollar question. Okay.
Yeah. And it's something that Goldman Sachs really dug into with this report. They looked at what they call total cost of ownership parity. So basically, when does owning an EV, and this is factoring in everything, the purchase price, how much you're paying to fuel the thing, maintenance, even what you can resell it for down the road, when does that become equal to or cheaper than owning a similar gas-powered car?
So it's not just the sticker price. We're talking the long game here.
It's the long game.
Mm-hmm.
And they're saying, and this is amazing, that we could see total cost of ownership parity in big markets, like the U.S., for instance, as early as 2026.
2026. Again, that's right around the corner.
Right around the corner.
But there's always a but, right?
There's always a but.
What could speed this up or slow it down?
So, there are a lot of factors at play here, right? Government regulations and incentives, for example, those can be huge.
Yeah.
If you've got strong policies that are supporting cleaner transportation, that can really accelerate things. But on the flip side, if there's, a lack of support or even policies that make it harder to get those EVs on the road, then that could create some roadblocks. So it's not just about the tech itself, it's about the political and economic landscape that it's operating in.
It's like anything, right? It all kind of factors in. I mean, and then there's just how people feel, because even if the price is right, there's still, I think, a level of uncertainty and even fear about such a big change.
Absolutely. And buying a car is a big deal for people.
Yeah.
It's a big purchase.
Right. It's a big purchase. And so I think those are valid concerns that people have. Range anxiety, is that something you hear a lot about?
Oh, all the time.
That people are afraid they're going to be out on a road and they're not going to have enough juice to get where they need to go.
Yep.
Or where can I charge this thing?
Exactly. And those are valid concerns. And, to be fair, the car manufacturers are working hard to try to address those.
Yeah.
They're constantly improving that battery range.
Sure.
So you can go farther on a single charge. And, I'm sure you've noticed this too. We're seeing charging stations pop up like everywhere now.
Yeah, they're everywhere, which is great. But here's another one that I've come across is that with this tech changing so fast, are people worried about their shiny new EV becoming outdated like their iPhone?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like what happens to the resale value if there's this revolutionary new battery just around the corner?
Yeah. And that's smart to think about. And you know what? Goldman Sachs actually considered that in their analysis.
Okay.
They looked at how EV resale values have been trending, and they factored in, how these rapid advancements might impact them down the road.
So they didn't just like brush that concern aside?
No, they did their homework.
We did their homework.
And even with, potential resale value dips, their models still indicate we'll hit that total cost of ownership parity probably around 2026.
What?
So what that means for, the average person is that even if your EV might depreciate a bit faster than, a comparable gas guzzler, what you save on gas and maintenance will likely make up for it.
Okay.
So you come out ahead in the long run.
Music to my ears, especially, as somebody who is a little bit wary of jumping headfirst into a tech wave that seems to change by the minute.
Right.
This is good, it sounds like. If Goldman Sachs is right, it's becoming a no-brainer financially to go electric.
It's looking that way, and this isn't just about saving a few bucks for everyday drivers. This shift towards more affordable, longer-range EVs, this is sending shockwaves through the entire auto industry.
Yeah.
I mean, we're already seeing the big players. They're pouring billions, and I mean billions, with a B, into ramping up their EV production.
Oh, yeah.
New electric models are hitting the market, across the board, from your compact cars to SUVs, even pickup trucks.
Pickups. Wow.
It's like the whole industry is just slamming the pedal on electrification.
Yeah, full speed ahead.
Full speed ahead, exactly. And it's not just the car companies themselves.
Right.
This is the entire supply chain is feeling the heat to adapt.
Oh, I bet.
Battery manufacturers, they're scrambling to meet demand. Mining companies, they're on the hunt for new sources of lithium and other key minerals.
Right.
And governments are, starting to realize they need to invest in charging infrastructure if they want to support this massive shift.
This is huge. What we're talking about, this is not just like a small little change.
Right.
This is like a chain reaction.
It's a chain reaction, each piece of the puzzle influencing the next. And it really highlights how this transformation goes way beyond just the cars on the road.
It does. It really does. And we've covered a lot of ground on the EV revolution here, but I want to rewind for a sec to the batteries themselves.
Okay.
Because you mentioned, nickel-based and LFP.
Right.
But there was also something about sodium-ion batteries. Do you remember? Yeah. What's the story there? Is that a contender in this whole battery showdown?
So sodium-ion batteries, they're definitely a dark horse to watch.
Okay.
So instead of using lithium ions to store and release energy, they use sodium ions. So think of them as, lithium's less flashy cousin.
Okay. I like that. Lithium's like more readily available relative.
Exactly. And then that's kind of the thing. Sodium is way more abundant, and it's much, much cheaper than lithium.
Okay.
Which means that sodium-ion batteries, they could be much more affordable to produce. Plus, they handle cold temperatures better, which, depending on where you live, could be a big deal.
Okay, so we're talking cheaper, easier to get the materials for, and they can handle the cold.
Yeah.
I'm sold. Where do I sign up? What's the catch?
There's always a catch.
There's always a catch.
The trade-off here is their energy density.
Okay.
They're not as energy dense as lithium-ion batteries, so, for the same size battery, you're not going to get as much range.
So it's the, that age-old battle, right? Yeah. Cost versus performance.
It's always a trade-off.
But, a little bit more R&D, who knows? They might be able to close that gap.
Exactly. We're still early in the game for sodium-ion, but definitely keep an eye on them.
They're like the wild card. You never know if they're going to come out of nowhere.
Exactly. Shake things up.
All right. So we've got all these different battery technologies. They're all duking it out. They've each got their own pluses and minuses.
Right.
It's a high stakes game for sure.
It is.
But let's zoom out for a minute, because this rapid progress, these plummeting prices, what does this mean for other industries? Is it just about cars, or are there ripple effects that we should be thinking about here?
That's the million-dollar question, and it highlights just how groundbreaking this technology really is, because right now, electric vehicles, they're kind of the stars of the show when it comes to these, advanced batteries.
Right.
But they're not the only ones in the spotlight.
Okay, intriguing. So what other industries could ride this battery wave, so to speak?
So one of the most exciting prospects is grid-scale energy storage.
Grid scale, what do you mean?
So think about it. As we shift toward a greener energy future, right?
Oh.
We're relying more and more on renewables, things like solar and wind.
Of course, yeah.
We need a really smart way to store that energy for when the sun's not shining or the wind's not blowing.
Yeah, because you can't just like flip a switch and get more wind or more sunshine.
Exactly. You need a way to kind of stockpile that energy for when the demand is high.
Right.
And that's where these advanced batteries come in.
Okay.
Picture like massive energy storage systems that can hold that excess electricity from renewable sources and then release it back to the grid when it's needed.
So like giant city-sized power banks.
Essentially, yeah.
That's
It
incredible.
could be a game changer
Yeah.
because it makes renewable energy that much more reliable.
Wow. Okay. What else? What else? Any other industries that are kind of like poised to benefit from this?
Absolutely. Think about all those devices that we're glued to. Our smartphones, our laptops, wearables.
Yep.
Always want more battery life, right?
Please, please, more battery life.
These advancements, they could lead to some major improvements there.
Okay, so no more like desperately searching for a charger every couple of hours.
Hopefully not.
All right. All right. I like it. I like it. What about other forms of transportation? I mean, are we going to see electric airplanes? Electric ships?
Yeah.
Powered by these batteries?
It's not science fiction.
No.
Sure, those sectors, they have their own unique challenges, like the weight and energy demands of flying, for instance.
Yeah.
But with battery tech evolving this quickly, I would never say never.
Okay. All right. An electric future, but like in the skies and the seas, now that's something to get excited about. I mean, it seems like this battery revolution is just opening doors left and right.
It absolutely is. And keep in mind, we're still in the early innings here.
Yeah.
The batteries of tomorrow, they're going to be smaller, they're going to be lighter, they're going to be more powerful, and they're going to be more affordable than anything that, we can imagine today.
It's like we're at the tip of the iceberg, really.
Yeah, we're just getting started.
So as we kind of wrap up this deep dive into the world of EV battery technology, what's the key takeaway? What's like the one thing you want our listeners to walk away with today? What should they remember from our conversation?
It's tough to sum it up in just one point, but I think if you had to, walk away remembering just one thing from this conversation, it's that we are on the verge of something really, really big.
Yeah.
Like a seismic shift in how we think about energy storage. This isn't just about, cars anymore. It's about transforming industries across the board.
Across the board, yeah.
It's a time of immense challenges, don't get me wrong.
Sure.
But the opportunities, mind-blowing.
It's kind of like, it feels like we're standing on a launch pad. You know what I mean? And things are about to get wild. This has been incredible, I've got to say. You have given us a lot to think about.
Yeah, it's been fun.
I have a feeling this is not going to be the last time we talk about this whole EV battery revolution.
Oh, for sure. No, we're just getting started. The next chapter in this story is going to be really fascinating to watch.
Absolutely. And for our listeners out there who are ready to dive even deeper, maybe read the whole thing, we'll make sure to link that full Goldman Sachs research report in the show notes.
Yeah, it's definitely worth a read. They've got all sorts of charts and graphs and even more insights and predictions.
More insights, more to think about. Well, on that note, we'll wrap it up for today. But before we go, one last thought to leave you with. As battery tech keeps racing forward at this insane speed, making energy storage cheaper and more efficient, what other industries could be turned upside down? I mean, could we see a world where every single one of those gas-powered tools that we've all got in our garage, they become relics of the past?
Right.
Or, what if homes and businesses, they're not even hooked up to the grid anymore. They're just powered by their own personal energy storage systems. The possibilities, they really are pretty much limitless. So just keep those minds open, stay curious, because the future of energy is looking pretty electric.
Couldn't agree more.
Until next time.